Hey everybody, welcome back to the 135th episode of Taps Patience. I'm AJ with Audacity Micro and Subtract Manufacturing, here with Harrison at Precision Ingenuity. Hi Harrison, how you
How
doing?
we doing?
I feel like the energy of that intro oversold how I feel a lot. Like, I don't know, I'm not feeling terrible right now, but that was really high energy, and it was like, that's not how I feel right now.
Same. Things are good, but I'm exhausted, and I'm afraid it's going to be like that for the next month or two.
Yeah, I have actually had a relatively chill week. It has been a much needed chill week, but I don't know. Yeah, still busy. Chill week meaning like I only worked 75 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, we got the lathe powered on,
Ooh.
and everything is set up, and technically it could start running tomorrow, but we probably won't have it running till later this week.
Let's let me go first this week and then we'll get to you because I have a feeling we have a lot more to talk about with you than with me right now.
Go for it.
So let's see. Last couple of days, what did I do? I shipped the copper watch job,
Mm-hmm.
or I have been calling them watch parts. The drawings say nothing about watches at all. I am just making assumptions. I did find out who those were going to, and I need to tell you that off stream because it's kind of cool. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out they might actually be watch parts.
Oh, that would be cool.
I now knowing who it is, definitely cannot say what more about that job. Um, but did we talk about that job at all? Did that happen
Yeah.
after?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the ones that you were you had a 3D print and you were hot gluing
Yes.
and you did like a ring and you had your not a 5 axis.
And I
Was it
averaged like $350 an hour working on that job for many hours.
now was that it was just a 2-op part, right? So like
Correct.
once you did one side you flipped it, it was done.
Yep. So, gosh, I know I shipped more parts this week. I'm having a hard time. I can pull up my pictures here. Hard time remembering what else I shipped. Oh, I had a funny plastic part that had a 3-inch deep slot that was 3 millimeters in diameter. Sorry for
Mm-hmm.
mixing units. So that's pretty classic Audacity Micro territory. Um, and I guess that really was, yeah. So other than that, Scott came over again on Saturday and we did our normal Saturday part. And
Mm-hmm.
that one turned out to be a lot more difficult than I had anticipated, thanks to our old friend Material Movement. If I said a flanged bushing, would you know what I meant? Like, can you kind of picture that shape?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know what
So
that
it,
is.
it had the approximate shape of a flanged bushing, but it had like a slot down the kind of the skinny end. So it had the flange on the end, and then it had a slot down the skinny end. And the ID of that bushing was tight tolerance, and it needed a tight concentricity to the outside of it. And um, it was made out of a glass filled nylon, which actually machined very nicely. I liked that material. The problem was op one, the top face and ID. Top op two was the OD, and then op three was putting the slot in it. And as soon as you put the slot in it, the ID and the OD change sizes. Um, Thanks to our friend Mr. Material Movement.
Spring forces.
Yeah, so that took a couple tries. In retrospect, what I would have done is I would have done the, let's see, ID with a stock allowance because we reamed that hole. So
Mm-hmm.
pre-drill, and I wouldn't have reamed it. Then I would have done op 2 and 3, and then I would have gone back and reamed that hole after I had done the slot. But hindsight is 2020. But at the end of the day, the part did look very good and measured in spec. Um, so that was kind of Scott's first experience with any tight tolerance work. It was his first experience with the 3-op part, and then you throw in the material movement monkey wrench, and that adds some more complication. So it took longer than we expected, but we got it done. And then I've done a lot of shop improvements this week. Nothing really to write home about, but like all of my brooms now have a nice little hanger on the wall. My vacuum has a nice little hanger. There was because I have those big rubber mats in my like work areas in front of the machines, and they're like 3/4 inch thick horse stall mats. I
Mm-hmm.
had a workbench that had 2 feet on the mat and 2 feet off the mat, and I just had some like 1x3s sitting underneath the leg. So I 3D printed some nice little feetsies for my workbench, so it was nice and level and didn't need the big piece of wood. I cleaned the whole shop. I like swept and mopped the whole shop. Kind of some just like normal upkeep stuff. I reorganized my tools a little bit. Um, so some good kind of general shop cleaning. My shop is in nice shape right now. Lots of like systems work this week. Um, and then I took a relatively large production job that I have been working on some of the logistics on. Harrison has seen the parts. Um, they're about the size of a shirt button. They're coming out of 3/8 inch diameter. I don't remember what the actual final diameter is. And it kind of looks like a pop cap that has some like undercuts on the back, except the undercuts have this annoying little chamfer underneath them, and it's a pain. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to make those now. I have some clarifying questions into the customer, but I didn't send them the email until Friday afternoon, so I haven't heard back yet.
Do you
Um,
have a strategy in mind, or are you still playing with ideas?
so current plan is form tool,
Okay.
and it's just a matter like basically the questions that I ask them are going to determine the design of the form tool, because there is a radius in there, and if I can ignore or change that radius, the diameter of my form tool becomes reasonable. And if I can't, becomes an unreasonable diameter form tool. So
Mm.
if they make that change, it'll be a whopping 16th inch diameter. And if not, it has to be smaller. So I don't remember what
Yeah.
the actual diameter is. It's like a 1 millimeter radius or something, I think. Um, so it's a wee little form tool.
Yeah, that is a tiny form tool.
I did find out, or I did realize that I could do the whole thing with two off the shelf tools. I could use a regular like little baby key seat, and then a little baby key seat with a corner radius, and
Is
just
is
kind of surface in those hidden
is
chamfers.
is those internal chamfers, are they at like a standard 45?
Yes, they are.
Oh, okay.
I could not find a key seat cutter with a chamfer on it.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I could have swore they had them.
I'm sure somebody does, but like I checked MSC and I checked Harvey basically, and I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything. And I checked Big Master, but I couldn't find anything on those. You couldn't add like I have access to grinders.
You
No,
need
it
a
would be the
relief.
wrong. Yeah, it would be the
You
wrong profile.
you need a relief. But some of the companies that I've dealt with custom tools, they make other tools, and it's cheaper if you can find a tool that they make that you can just
And
customize a
modify.
pre-existing one. Um, you can get them cheaper if you can go, hey, you already make this form tool. I just need to add a chamfer, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's a lot less than making 100% custom.
Yeah.
So
Who have you used before?
honestly, I don't remember because we went through our one of our suppliers, like one of our um Blackhawk Industrial is who they are. And we just said, hey, we need these form tools. You have companies that you work with. Can you set up a meeting, or can we give you all the details that you get us a price? And so I don't even remember what tool made up, which one they sent it to that ended up making them.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna go
we
with. Sorry,
oh, you're good. Go ahead.
I was I was gonna go with either carbide cutting tools or AB tools. Those seem to be the two guys in the community that everybody recommends.
Yeah, yeah. Um, The only thing I would question is, do you know if either of those do coatings? Would you get the form tools without a coating or
Hmm,
with a coating?
that's a good question. I mean, I would get them with a coating if I could, titanium.
It usually adds more lead time when you do.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the only reason I ask, because all the form tools that we've gotten so far have been for aluminum, but we are potentially going to need some custom formed drills for one of the projects that we're doing. We're making the part in aluminum, but they want us to make it out of some other materials, and so we're going to probably end up getting some custom drills that are coated for that job.
Realistically, like with these diameters being so small, even if I run them full bore, my surface speed is not going to be very high. So the coating may not add that much value.
Yeah,
And I'll just buy like 10 of them because they're so small. But
yeah, yeah. With volume, the prices can come down to pretty reasonable.
yeah.
So most of the stuff I've bought have been the minimum quantity of say three, and it's been a combination of making sure that they work the way we expect them to, and they last forever in aluminum.
Yeah.
So
And let's see. If I ran this job, let's see, right now with the money I've spent on this job so far, yeah, I'm at 95% profit. Um, so I have a lot of budget that I can throw at things like form tools and work holding and still make really good money on this job.
yeah,
So
so yeah, I would, if you can get a form tool, that definitely sounds like the right way.
um, it does bring in or bring up the question of basically work holding density. I mean, I could do these one at a time, and or these parts are small enough that even on the office mill, throw my anchor point on there, and I could do a pallet of probably 40 at a time.
Being that these are round parts, did you order round material or did you order square material?
I did. I got precision 3/8 inch diameter titanium rod.
Are the parts
Uh,
3/8? Is it going to be able to, or do you have to do the
they're
OD?
slightly undersized that.
They're slightly under that.
I didn't get precision really on purpose. It was just the finish that the material came in,
Mm.
and I bought twice as much material as I needed, and it was only $400 total. So,
Yeah.
because I could put like for op one, I can just salami slice them off, and
Hmm.
I could put 4 sticks of titanium in there that are all 1.5 inches or 2 inches long. 2 inches long
Hmm.
might be a bit long for 3/8 material, but have it sticking up 1.5 inches and salami slice 15 off of each stick, and then have a big op two fixture.
Yeah.
Or I could do something more conservative.
Yep. That'll be it's a perfect job for the office mill.
Yeah, the office mill can just sit around and chomp on these while the Tormach does something else,
Hmm. Fair
or
enough.
even op one machine, op two machine,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that'd
flow
honestly
through.
be, that'd be a pretty good flow through process.
Um,
Um, especially
Especially
if you
if
can
this is
hold.
the last job I'm going to take this year. Oh, which we never
Yeah.
said on the that was
Yeah.
pre-podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. You're thinking about this, making this your last job of the year.
Yeah, I don't really need the extra money, and better to focus on subtract. But we'll see. I also will constantly say, I'm not going to take any jobs for a while," and then I some an opportunity shows up, and I'm like, I'm going to make those parts.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, but this job should be pretty good. I just need to. I really want to get the first part made and
Hmm.
have my process proven out, and then I'll feel a lot more comfortable. Because I've already spent like 3 days or something, and I haven't done anything really on the job other than talk to people, and that
Hmm.
makes me anxious on the inside.
Yeah, you might have to take on another job if you're not careful.
Let's see. Anything else interesting happen?
Did you put up a your own toolpath video? Um, because
So
I thought you were gonna release one, like they film you, you film them, and I don't think I've seen
yeah,
that video.
we like half recorded a video. We didn't have time to finish it all the way. And I don't know where that footage is. I think I need to bug Ben, or maybe Jacob already has it. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But I need to then finish off the rest of that video. But I did publish a video on, oh, this was probably last week, on soft jaws and kind of
Hmm.
my process for making those, um, which some people really enjoyed. Some people are like, wait, you design your soft jaws? You don't just cut them directly off the geometry of your part, which blew my mind as a thing that people do, but it kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
They won't, like, they don't model their soft jaws or anything. They just do like a 2D pocket based off of the bottom of the part, which
Oh yeah, I've done that.
I've
It depend.
never once considered doing that.
I've done that before. So like I'll create like just a block of material, and then I'll just do a negative stock to leave. It just depends on how complex the geometry is.
They don't even do
Because
the block of material, I don't think.
to create the negative cavity,
Yeah, they don't have any model of their soft jaw.
well, you can do it that way, but usually my jaws have like a couple inches gap depending on the size of the part, and so you'd be doing a lot of air cutting. So like it's nice to model the actual like how far the jaws are apart. That way I can jump back and forth and machine it a lot more efficiently.
I'm not saying I agree with these people.
Yeah,
Um, not having a soft jaw template is wild to me.
yeah.
But
No, I mean it's if you can make that work, that's honestly pretty cool.
yeah, it's, I don't know. I could not do this method because I would make dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
This would only result in like an unreliable process for me. Where like my soft jaw process right now is just incredibly super dialed, and it's just not even a step in my brain anymore because you just go through the motions.
Yep.
But
Yep. Which
I don't know. People do it differently.
I saw Justin called you out on Instagram on that video.
So I saw that I uninstalled Instagram from my phone. I just haven't been on there, and I saw that he tagged me in something, but I never saw what it was.
Yeah, he basically he got a care package from you guys where he's putting up some stickers, and then he talked a little bit about
Mhm.
um
From Jacob.
subtract and Zonum and Audacity, and then he talked about your video
Oh
that
man,
he
I
that
wish
you
I'd seen
did.
that. Uh,
So
you said call it out. Is that like,
well,
hey,
he
look
just
at
said
this
he
cool
just
thing, or like, hey, he did it a dumb way?
no, he's just like, hey, there's a really cool video on making soft jaws that
Okay.
Audacity put out using Toolpath. So
I
like it
was
was a good thing.
surprised. Like, basically, no one said anything about the toolpath side, and I thought I was of that video because I showed my like traditional container method template, and then I showed the toolpath method, and I use both now depending on the complexity of the soft jaws. I
Mm-hmm.
thought people were gonna like either be amazed by toolpath or be like offended by it. Also, the like soft jaws that I designed for toolpath to run were really dumb because I wasn't running an actual part and I only had like half an hour to record that video. So I just threw together some random geometry and they were just like the dumbest looking soft jaws. And I no one said anything about them. So I just found that
Yeah,
interesting.
I haven't finished the video. I think I watched like the first few minutes and then I got interrupted. So I don't think
Yeah.
I made it to the toolpath part. I think I was like halfway through the container method that you started out with. So um but yeah, no, that's exciting. How long did it take you to because you use toolpath a lot for subtract. How long did you work on getting your tool library dialed for it? Or are you
It
still working on it?
uh the library needs some touch-ups, especially around drills and taps. There's some kind of weird things going on there, but it took a lot of like ideation and figuring out like what tools do we want to make subtract standard tools and how do we want to number tools and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Once we actually got into it, Jacob wrote a like a Python script that went and could grab tool manufacturer data off of their website and then turn it into a Fusion tool library. And that's where like most of the tool data came from in that library. Um, and so that was relatively automated. The only problem is it did math wrong and it made all the tools too long, but I fixed that. And then I don't know, then it was pretty easy. So because we just ran it through pre-tool, like we scraped all of the information for the tools we wanted, and then we ran it through pre-tool, and then it was all ready to go.
I'm in the process of going through and trying to update the library and bring in all of our tools and make sure everything's defined well. And
That is,
it's a process.
it's a process. Um, when I was first doing it with like Audacity, it was a big giant pain. With Subtract, we were designing the tool library for Toolpath basically.
Hmm.
And designing it to be something standardized that we could recommend to all of our different vendors.
Yeah,
And because like we're building from the ground up for Toolpath, it becomes a lot easier. And also with Audacity now, my goal is to basically automate everything I can. And
mm,
so I'm building my systems to play well with Toolpath because I want
yeah,
to be able to automate all my cam. But
yeah. And my library is a mess, um, just because I'm constantly taking tools in and out. Um, and so this is a nice exercise to kind of go through and clean it up. Although I'm so under the gun right now that it's going to be kind of a band-aid just to make sure I can get everything working so I can get some good use out of Toolpath, make sure everything's good. Once I get through my craziness, I'd like to go back and touch up my library and make it a lot easier to use, especially for our new employee, because
yeah.
it is confusing. Speaking of which, um, how hard is it to write? Um, like you've done a lot of custom programming stuff with Fusion. Have you ever had it to where you could load in old programs and update all the tool numbers to if you move stuff around?
So, I mean, no, I haven't done that, obviously. Um, Programming the Fusion API is a thing you can do. ChatGPT is actually pretty good at it. The problem is a lot of the CAM stuff
Mm.
is undocumented.
Mm.
And like I have no idea how Toolpath is doing all the things that Toolpath does. Like
Hmm.
having read a lot of the documentation on the API, I like they must have some secret source of knowledge, or they're just really smart. It's probably both.
Yeah.
Um, so I would have no idea how to do that.
So
Jacob might, or not Jake. Well, Jacob might. Justin might, but I
yeah.
have no clue.
So Ben, who is my employee, Ben,
Not
he
Toolpath Ben
not Toolpath Ben,
or
um,
Prickly Pear Prototypes Ben.
or Prickly Pear Prototypes Ben. He did programming before he came to work with us, and so he wants to write a custom program because I've talked about cleaning up the library, and he really wants me to do it. And he's like, "Hey, if you clean up the library, I will try to write a custom program that we can just have a master list of the tools that we've changed, and we can just load up an old program, hit a button, it'll go through and change out all the tools to the new ones, and then we can run from there." And so I don't know if that's even possible. But like he wanted the challenge of trying to do that. And so I don't even know if it's possible, but I thought I'd ask you because I was just curious if you even thought that was possible.
I don't know. I don't know enough to say.
Mm. But I will clean up my library. It is going to happen. It's just finding the time. I mean, yeah, just time.
I have been exceedingly happy with the Subtract library. Like the way
Hmm.
it's organized has just worked very well for me. Where, there's core, swing, and specialty tools. And then I added basically junk drawer tools. Not that tools are junk, but like just tools that'll never ever show up again. And the way Toolpath wants them, they're split between Ferris and non-Ferris for each of those categories. So you end
Yeah,
up with like 6 libraries. But programming things has been so much easier. I use the default speeds and feeds out of pre-tool 99% of the time. The other 1% of the time, I'm just adjusting because I have sketchy work holding. Um, my standard tools, basically, I have like a short length and a long length version of all of my standard tools, like 1/8 inch,
Mm-hmm.
3/16, quarter inch, whatever. Um, like, really, my only problem is I don't have enough tool holders. And recently, I found that I need about 4 times more 1/8 inch collets.
Fair enough.
Parts have never been smoother coming out of my shop.
Yeah, that is the nice thing as our shops kind of mature over time is the efficiencies gained over time. So
Well, I think I'm done. Speaking of efficiencies, you have a new machine that we need to
yeah,
report on.
yeah. So um they people came in to work on our machine 3 or 4 days out of the week, and it took 2 days to get the machine ready, and then it took about a day for the bar feeder guy to come in and get that all hooked up. Um, and then on Wednesday this week, we have an apps guy from Doosan coming by so we can run hopefully our first part through it. And so Friday, I spent it felt like all day trying to get the turret set up. And it was kind of a interesting exercise of getting everything located evenly around the turret to make sure that it was in a spot where coolant could get to it, and then I could probe the tools and make sure it was going to clear everything around it. And so it's going to be a learning process. And I think it would have been faster if I had just torn the whole thing down and just built it all the way back up from scratch instead of trying to. I was trying to work around all the tool holders that were on the machine from the
Mm,
factory,
yeah.
and I'd get something set up, and then it's like, oh no, I got to tear this down because it's going to interfere over here. And then I was like, well, what tool holders can I switch, or do this or that? And I mean, I should have just tore everything out and then just built it up from the ground. But it's done now, um, and I really like having the ability to have you know 4 tools close to each other,
Hmm.
because it's got the half indexing turret. But then the Rent-A-Shop probe can't come in and probe some of those tools.
Oh, yeah.
And so I guess people must just take skim cuts, or they get it all set up, and then they just, when they change out an insert, they'll take a skim cut or something and then dial it in after the fact and just never use the tool setter, which is the only way that it could be done at that point. So it'll be
I
interesting.
th- I think that's pretty common on lathes.
Yeah. So take a cut and then dial it in after that.
Yeah, because like
Um,
Swiss lathes, there's no way to measure the tools, right?
No, Swiss lays. The only way to do it is by taking cuts, I
Yeah.
believe.
So
That's why everyone like runs like, oh, I'm going to use the first 50 parts to get everything dialed in.
yeah, exactly. And that's why lathe people are nuts.
Yeah, it's so um,
But
you know,
okay.
50 parts is your setup on a lathe,
Yeah, I've
which
had
is
jobs
just
like that.
bonkers to me. I I usually have less than one setup part on average for everything that I do. I usually can get it nailed in on the first one, and maybe I'll scrap one and then I got to do it again.
Yeah, for me, it's either first part good or I'm like 13 parts down the road trying to get one good one.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen in a while. I have been there, but I haven't. It's been pretty good. I've gotten my processes dialed pretty good with the parts we've been seeing. Um,
The let's see, it took us two of these ones with Scott. It took me one setup part for the plastic one. The watch took me two. Yeah, okay. I'm kind of in there.
so with the exception being the medical parts we're doing, and that's just a material that we've never machined before, so
Yeah.
we're dialing in our processes. Although Weston just did a run of over 200 parts, and he only scrapped 3, And previously we had roughly a 5% scrap rate, so that would have been 5 to 10%. So that would normally have been what, 10 to 20 parts scrapped normally. So it was a big reduction over what we've been doing. So we're getting that even better.
And your inspection processes are probably just getting more and more strict and better too, as you guys
Yes.
are getting the CMM in the flow of things. And
Yeah, and that was part of it was we're still using those gauge pins as like a hard check. Um and when I would run it, I would, as soon as I saw it kind of drop down a little bit, I would bump it up. Weston would wait a little bit longer before he bumped it, and he had a lot higher rejection rate when he ran it versus when I ran it. So
hmm,
we kind of talked, and he's just like, because like I ran a batch and it went through the CMM, and like one or two parts was scrapped, and then Weston ran a batch, and when it made it to the CMM, he scrapped like five or six or more. Like it was like a 3 or 4 times increase in scrap parts. Where we would run 30 at a time, and out of every batch of 30, he was scrapping like one or two parts. Versus whenever I'd run it, we'd only scrapped one or two out of like 100, and so that actually made it to the CMM. So like we would have a rejection rate of, on a batch of 100, we'd have, between 5 or 10 parts that would get rejected at the machine with gauge pins, and then by the time it made it through the whole process, we'd catch a couple at the CMM. And now we've kind of got a process dialed in where we're ticking it up, because what happens is as it wears down and it gets closer to that bottom range, that's where we tend to scrap them more than anything else. So we're just bumping it up a little bit sooner, and that's making a big difference.
yeah. I mean, tighter feedback cycle, that would make sense to me as being more
Yeah,
controlled.
yeah. And so he would just let them go longer than I would. I was a lot more strict with them. And
When you swap over to running these on the new machine, are you going to be able to like single piece flow through the CMM?
um in no, no, we are not, because of passivation. We do passivation before the
Oh,
CMM, and so I got to get batches of 30 before I send them through the passivation. And really, because of the heat and the time and the chemicals, you really want to get a batch of, and that's kind of where we got our batch size of around 100.
yeah.
Because that's enough material that we can run it through all the passivation and get everything checked to make sure it's good before we send it into the CMM.
Could you do a, I don't know what you would call it, a non-documented inspection, like a floor inspection, like not one with the CMM. So it's not something you're going to send to the customer, but as direct feedback to the machine, so that you can, adjust offsets or whatever. Just
Um,
tighten down that inspection cycle.
that's kind of what the gauge pin. So we have uh two things that we do at the machine that are pretty quick. One, we got a known good part, and we use that to set our digital bore gauge, because it's a known value that we got from the CMM, and that makes our digital bore gauge a lot more accurate. And so we check it with the gauge pen and we check it with the digital bore gauge to verify. So we're using two forms of inspection at the machine, and the digital bore gauge gives us a much more accurate if we need to bump it. The one thing it doesn't do very well is tapers, or if there's any oval, uh, um, non-circular component, which we get a little bit of non-circ. It's not enough to scrap parts, but you can see it in the CMM whenever we start with a new bar, and if there's any wiggle in the bar, you can
Oh
see that.
yeah, interesting.
You can see that on the end. So like the first, when we have the 3 foot bar and we start out with it, the first 10 parts out of a bar, um, there's a it's not enough to scrap them, but you can see you're usually typically right around the min and max in some locations because it's oblong.
Interesting.
And then as the bar gets shorter and there's less vibrations that can develop, uh, it smooths out.
Hmm. I don't know. I would still just try to close that inspection loop as much as you can.
I mean, we're having to bump it every 4 or 5 parts, so like our scrap rate is higher at the machine than like when it makes it to the CMM. Now that we've kind of got our process dialed in, we're being a little bit more picky with how we're inspecting at the machine. Our scrap rate at the CMM has gone down to like 0.
Yeah, but what's your
Or
scrap rate before?
a lot higher. It was a lot higher.
So there's two kinds of inspections. There are, and there's proper names for these, and I'm gonna forget them. But there's um, there's inspections that tell you if you can ship the part or not, and then there's inspections that make your process better.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, your inspection, like your CMM is being used solely for scrapping parts. Like that's its job, is to
Mm-hmm.
scrap parts. But if
Mm-hmm.
you moved, even as or added a pre-inspection earlier on, you can use that to drive quality in your machine and reduce scrap.
Yes, but if you had to run every single part on the CMM, it wouldn't tell us any more information than what we have available to us, other than it would give us a higher level of certainty. And so if we can just be a little bit more picky, I don't need to take it all the way over to the CMM because it's at two ends of the shop. It's a long distance to walk back and forth just to like I don't want to pause the machine, take every single part in there to inspect it, get a report back because by the time I've walked back, the
Yeah, there's
machine
lag.
there's a lot of lag between those two. And if I'm having to do it every 4 parts, there's it's way there's way too much time lost in running back and forth, waiting 2 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes for the CMM to spit out a report just to find out I need to adjust it when it could have already made another 2 or 3 parts in that same time. It's not now
Yeah.
that'll change on the new machine because I'll have op 1, op 2, and op 3. So my part time will go from 3 minutes
Oh,
a cycle to closer to 10 or 15. So there might be enough time that we could start doing that. But the problem is that all the critical features are on op 1, and they're still going to be in that first 2 to 3 minute window. So when the part drops out, I would still have to stop it.
yeah, to be clear, I was only thinking about new machine when you're able to single piece flow them from there, because I know right now you have some limitations in swapping around setups on the lathe and bringing them to the mill and yada yada
Yeah,
yada.
and
I was thinking solely future when you have that machine running.
yeah, but even when we do, like I said, the critical features are machined in the first 2 minutes or so of the part being run, and um, it doesn't. We would have to stop the machine to go get that information from the CMM.
Or you just have a one part data lag where
Yeah, but
uh,
at that point, our hand checking like there's an iffy stage where um the go gauge can go, but it's just barely grabbing, and it's kind of a feel thing. That's what was causing parts to get scrapped. And so we've removed that feel. If there's any grab at all of the go gauge in it, it's time to up it, basically. Whereas before, we were waiting until the go gauge would not go in, and that's where there's that uncertainty of it. And that's where we were getting a lot more scrap.
yeah, I what you could do is, you have your tolerance range that your final CMM, your checking for scrap inspection will catch. But at the machine, you tighten that down by 25% or whatever, 50%,
Mm-hmm.
and use that to tell you when you need to adjust tool wear or whatever. And maybe you do it every other part or every 5 part. Well, every 5 part sounds like too much, but every couple parts, so that you're not making that scrap to begin with. And even if it
We're,
takes 5% longer per part, like you're still winning if you had a 5% scrap rate.
yeah, but what I'm just what I started this conversation was off with is that we had 3 scrapped out of 200.
Yeah, fair.
Like our processes are improving without us going and using the CMM.
Yeah. Well, another benefit would be like right now, your current process is very, I almost said touchy feely, but it's very operator skill based. And you
It,
could, if
it,
it's not, if the CMM
it,
can remove some of that skill, then you could have an
it, it,
employee do it.
it was only touchy feely because of how we were judging when it wouldn't go into the go side. That's what I'm saying. We're removing all doubt by saying you can tell when it goes in there clean and there's zero grab, and if there's any grab, bump it up. Like instead of making it a feel thing, we're going sooner and we're removing all doubt, and that's what's make it. So we took the element of, okay, this is starting to grab, we could probably go another part or two before we need to up it, and we said no. If it's any question that go gauge is starting to get tight, just bump it up. Don't even think about it, don't even worry about it, just bump it up and move on. And that's what's made our scrap rate go way down.
So, can your employee do that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like there's no question at that. We've started having him run up 2 and 3 on these parts, and we've been going behind him and checking, and he does a really good job. Honestly, he might be pickier than me on some of the parts that I was checking. Like they were really consistent. So as long as he's got a hard, this is good, this is bad, this is what we're trying to hit, he's really good at following that.
That's fair.
And
How close is he to being saturated at your shop? Like, are
as long
basically
as
do you need
we
another employee? I guess is my question.
um I don't need another employee. I until I get him comfortable where he can run on his own.
Okay.
Um, I because if I bring someone else in at this stage, my time is going to be spent chasing my tail more and more
Oh yeah,
until I can get him up to a point where he could start using, like he could become someone to help train the next person. That's when I'll probably look at bringing someone else in. Because he's helping kind of plan out the roadmap for all of our future employees.
yeah.
And
He's the guinea pig.
he's the guinea pig. And so the more stuff we can figure out with him, the more stuff we can get documented, um, and kind of, things like our library cleaned up, um, get him comfortable where he can do setups on his own, which he's getting better every day. But he still has his moments. On Friday, for example, he cut the wrong material for a job, and he came over and he's like, "Hey, I thought you said this material was 3/4 by inch and a half." And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, I just cut some and it's bigger." And I was like, "Are you sure you cut the right material?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he picks up the bar and he goes, "I cut this, but oh, this is 3/4 by inch and 3/4." Oops.
Yeah.
But we made it work. But it's it's interesting because I can tell when he's getting close to his limit of being overloaded when he makes mistakes like that.
Yep.
Because usually he only makes mistakes when his brain is going in too many different directions. And I get it because I'm the same way. Um, I'll be like, hey, I want you to watch this machine, I want you to watch this machine, and then if both those machines are running, I want you to saw cut material. So, that's 3 tasks that he's switching between. And then, oh, by the way, can you also run the lathe when you have some spare time as well? Now he's got 4 tasks he's trying to keep up with. I've been doing this a while. I do that all the time. That's a little too much for him at this stage. I need to be like, okay, you can take away saw, or you can take away this machine. Focus whatever tasks you're focusing on, like limit them down until they're manageable, and then grow them back up over time.
Yep.
So, um, but yeah, no, things are going good with him. Um, and I think he likes the challenge. I think it's frustrating him a little bit. Um, just because he thought this was going to be a lot easier than, than he
Yeah.
gave it
You
credit
just push
for.
buttons and get parts out of the machine.
Yeah, yeah. He's like he was saying the other day, he was just like, this is a lot. Like, he's like, things matter at every single level. He's like, I haven't found a single thing that didn't affect the parts. Because like we were working on a part, and that he programmed, and we were looking at how much stock he would leave behind before a finishing pass,
Uh-huh.
and he did it about 5 thou more than I normally do. And so he's like, hey, he's running the parts. He's like, hey, how do these turn out? And I said, oh yeah, they're doing good. And I was like, but if you feel the floor, because he left more material on the floor than I normally would. I said, drop it down by 5 thou and see what difference it makes. And so he did. And then he felt it afterwards. He's like, that is so much smoother. And I was like, yeah. He's like, 5 thou makes that big of a difference? I was like, oh yeah. For finishing passes, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So,
All right, I looked it up. The three types of inspection: judgment, informative, and source. So judgment, that's the one. Judgment inspections scrap parts. Informative inspections help keep you from scrapping parts because you're monitoring the process. And then source inspections happen before the parts are made, basically. So that would
okay.
be things like like checking the calibration of your probe or your tool setter or stuff like that. Like
Yep.
checking equipment, basically.
We are making an improvement when we move to the new machine that should help on these parts to reduce the scrap that I didn't mention. And that is, we were using a carbide boring bar to make these on the Haas, and it was a 1/8 inch or 3/16 inch boring bar, carbide boring bar, and we found out that we can go up another 16th of an inch bigger in diameter.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
And so it changes it from a 4 times D stick out to a 3 times D stick out on the boring bars. So that should make it a lot more rigid, which will also help. So,
Yeah,
and we
because I
can
think
we can up our inserts slightly.
yeah, because you get like if you double the diameter, you like square the rigidity or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the rule there, but it's dramatic.
Yep. So we should be able to increase our boring bars slightly, and I think that'll also help. Although one thing that I am pretty impressed with on that Doosan is I was having to move some of those tooling blocks around, and I'd already touched off tools, and then I moved them into a new location and bolted them down and retouched them off, and they were the same down to the 10th in the new location.
That's pretty good.
Like moving the whole block, because like I had a block with like boring bars, like 3 boring bars, like 2 on one side, 1 on the other, and like they all 3 came out within like down to the 10th in tolerance. I was pretty impressed with that.
I feel like that's kind of like when you like throw a vice on your table and go to sweep it in, and it just happens to be dead nuts on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what happened to you.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's a new machine, and like it's like a press fit to get those blocks in and out of the grooves for alignment. So
well, yeah, but like also the run out of the turret is going to matter.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
everything's dialed really good right now.
yeah,
At least I haven't taken a cut on it other than like the test cuts that the tech made. So when I actually go to run parts, I'll have a lot more feedback. But
mm-hmm.
just moving that block around and like setting it up, I was pretty impressed with how accurate that was from one location on the turret to another.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Um, there's only one tool on it that I was unable to touch off, and that was because um, it's a drill and how far it's sticking out. I have the clearance to go touch it off, but there's a safety zone that
Oh,
the machine
yeah.
will get mad at whenever I get too close to sub, and it's a pretty big safety zone. It's like 2 inches, it feels like. And so I need to figure out how to bypass that. The tech showed me when he was setting it up, but that was on like Monday or Tuesday, and I have completely forgot about it by Friday whenever it came time for me to actually touch it off, because he showed me like 100 different things, and I'm just like
Yeah.
there's some weird things on how it does and how it acts. But I think I don't know if it's Doosan weird or if it's Fanic weird
Or both
or both.
with their powers combined.
Yeah. Um, but we'll see as we kind of learn. Um, one thing that is kind of crazy, um, is just like how how much stuff you have to do on the bar feeder to get it set up to work on the Doosan. And it makes me respect the Haas even more, just like because it's all integrated. Because there's so much you have to do to set up a program on that bar feeder to like. There's like 100 different settings you can set up for like all these different situations, and so like I'm sure I'm gonna forget half of that stuff too.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna have to call the bar feeder rep and be like, "Hey, how do I do this again?" But
Take notes.
yeah, copious notes. And I'll probably have to like start taking like on some stuff I've just started taking videos. I'm like, explain it to me and let me record it, and
Yeah.
then I can go watch that video. Which, now that I mention it, I did do that on with the Doosan Tech. I wonder if I recorded the sub thing and I just didn't go watch the video again when I was setting it
I
up.
wonder if you can like send that video through Chat GPT and be like, give me bullet points.
Yeah, I did use Chat GPT on a couple job stuff here recently, and I don't remember what all I used them for, but it ended up being really helpful. It helped me troubleshoot some stuff and it did a really good job with it. So I was kind of surprised.
I have been using it a ton for school where like, I'm going to this Kanban teaching system and
Mm-hmm.
that requires me to have, a Kanban card for every single topic I teach or every single lab activity we do. And like it's just going to take me a long time to get everything converted to a card form. But my method is basically I built it like I wrote out a template and I give ChatGPT the template. And then if I have existing notes, I just copy paste my existing notes into there and say, make this a card. If I don't have existing notes, I just kind of word vomit everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of like it's all the information I gave it, but it just kind of neatly organizes it and, puts it in the format and um, it will like make review questions at the end and it just,
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of the the legwork out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember this though. Um, so remember that shop that I toured and to go look at these machines before,
Yeah.
and they were telling me to pull those pins out on the turret.
Yes.
Um, so I was talking to the Doosan tech that was installing our machine, and I asked him about that. What his opinions were, thoughts on that, and he's just like, "Which shop did you go to?" And I told him which shop it was, and he's like, "That makes sense." And I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "Well, the guy there that runs it is thinks he's a lot better than he is, and the first 2 weeks that the machine was there, he crashed it really hard, and we fixed the machine and we left, and he crashed it the same day that we fixed it again, but waited 6 months to tell us that he had crashed it because he didn't want to admit that he had crashed
Yeah.
it. So um, apparently they're and going and looking at their shop, they are very hard on their machines, just from what I was able to see, because like they had their parts catcher, like it looked like it had been through a war zone, and they were like they were like trying to like make a custom one to replace it, and the belt, the little conveyor belt, it had been at the shop for 5 years and it was falling apart, that like it drops the parts into, And apparently, part of the problem is they ran full synthetic in their machine when they first got it, and it's just been eating a whole bunch of their seals
Yeah.
and just tearing up the machine. So,
I
anyways,
have I have one tangent here before we get on to Patreon and Patreon questions.
mm-hmm,
And this is a question for you and I think the audience at large. But
mm-hmm,
the last couple of classes, my students have really struggled to understand work coordinate systems
mm-hmm,
and like probing macros.
mm-hmm.
And specifically, like their issues with probing macros comes from the fact they don't understand work coordinate systems. And the like obviously I am not teaching it well. And I've tried different like metaphors, I've tried different ways of explaining it. And my group of students, which admittedly are always generally coming from a lesser educated background.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who didn't graduate high school or graduated high school a long time ago and, haven't used anything since. So, like, there's not a good mathematical foundation there. Um, and they really, really struggle with work coordinate systems. Does anyone
So,
have good metaphors or a good way of teaching work coordinate systems that makes sense to people?
so what have you? Could you give me an example of how you've explained it in the past that you think is a failure or not working very well?
Um, yeah, the when I first tried to teach it, and this is when I didn't understand my students as well, I basically did the mathematical explanation. It's like, if you if you look at your machine, you have one big XY coordinate, like I would draw it on the board, so it'd just be 2D. You just have
Mm,
one big XY graph, and then but if you want to put a vice here, you just, have a little smaller XY graph there, right? And I would draw it on the board and just have like, a little XY chart inside a little XY chart, which is how
mm.
I think of it. And, then the offset is the difference between the corners on those two ones. But that makes perfect sense to me. I did take longer to explain it. So I promise my explanation was better than that. Um,
The way I've described it in the past is the 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 origin in the machine has to match the origin in the computer, otherwise the machine doesn't know where the part is. And so when you probe something in, you're saying this is home and this is where you start from. And the example that I would use in that is if I was trying to cut a 2x4 with a tape measure, you would want the tape measure to clip onto the edge of the board when you're rolling it out to figure out where you make that cut. If you don't have that tape measure on the end of the board, if you have it way off one side or way off on the other, it doesn't matter if you cut it at the right spot on the tape measure because it's not on the right spot at the end of the board.
the tape measure analogy is pretty good.
Because
Uh, yeah,
because and so
that
and
might
so
work.
that the end of that tape measure where it's clipping onto the material, that is your home location. And you got to make sure that that is set properly so the machine can make all the other cuts it needs to based from that origin.
That might help them because they like sometimes spatial awareness is difficult with this group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they are trying very hard, but sometimes it takes me a couple attempts to get them like if I give them a pair of calipers and tell them to measure a dimension, sometimes they put the calipers on the wrong direction. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're working with that kind of level of
Mm-hmm.
spatial awareness here, where you'll tell them to measure the thickness here, and then they'll grab it like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so some of these concepts are a little bit harder for them to understand. The tape, like it's where you hook on the tape measure, is actually probably a pretty good analogy.
Yeah.
Um, One of the other problems I have is when we start shifting offsets. For some reason, like they will understand how to do, like, with the Haas control, you do the VQC thing, at least on the older controls, you do the VQC thing to like generate your little probing macros. They do that just fine until we have to shift an offset for the first time. And then as soon as we shift an offset, they lose the ability to make the macros correctly. Like, for example, on one of the parts we make, there's not a good way to get it with like an end stop or whatever. So we push a parallel against it and then probe the parallel. As soon as we introduce that, they start like trying to put the width of the parallel as the work offset in the VQC menu. Or I don't know. They get confused in lots of ways, but there's some, I don't know, they just have some disconnect there.
Okay. The analogy that I would use for that goes back to the tape measure analogy. Have you ever heard of cut an inch on a tape measure?
Cut an inch. Is that just
Cut
like where
an
you start on measure from the one?
measure from the one, because for whatever reason there's something in the way, or you're
Yeah.
trying to get it precise and you can't clip onto it. That's the analogy I use in that instance. Like if I have to set something else and probe it, and then I have to ship my offset back off of it, it's like taking a tape measure. Let's say you have a board that has an angle cut on the end, so there's not a flat area where you can lay that up. I might put the one on the corner of that angled cut, and then measure out my distance, and then subtract an inch, or subtract an inch at the very end to get my right measurement.
I like that. I'm gonna try that. I'll guinea pig my current class, even though we're basically done with the CNC mill portion of it. I'll guinea pig this version of the lecture with them and see if they respond to that better. Because like I could just grab a tape measure and put it in the machine, and I think that will work pretty well for them.
Yeah. Yeah, or you can have like an example 2x4 where one end is straight and the other one's cut at an angle.
Yeah.
And then you can say, okay, if I was going to measure this, if I was going to measure the long side of the board, I can hook it from either direction. But if I'm going to measure the short end, I can't hook it when I'm measuring it from the one side because it's cut at an angle. So what carpenters can do, and will often do, is called cut the inch. They'll shift it over an inch. That way they can get that line lined up right on the edge, and then measure to the other side, and then subtract that inch from their total measurement. And that's kind of what you're doing with your parallels if you can't reach the actual edge you're trying to get to.
I will use that. That's good. I like that.
So that seems to work well for me.
Yep. I will try that this week and then report back.
Okay.
But I've even like tried doing like showing them on the manual mill and setting the DRO, and they basically just get thrown off by the fact that the edge finder has a radius that you need to shift over by, and I lose them there. But speaking of losing people or not losing people, we have Patreons, and including a new Patreon. And I'm not sure if this is what their name is or if they just signed up as anonymous, but they are an unnamed Patreon, ... So thank you, an unnamed Patreon, ... for joining us. Our other Patreons include, but are not limited to, Alex at Mill City Roasters, Christian. Do you do coffee, Mill City Roasters?
Ooh.
Did I do this last time?
I don't remember them from last time. Let me look.
They were a new Patreon last time, I think.
Oh, yep, they were. Last time was, I think, their first time.
Did I get sidetracked about coffee last time too?
I don't think you did, but I don't think we made that connection last time.
Well, Mill City Roasters, Jacob sent me coffee in the mail, and he became my favorite person. There's also Christian O, Stephen M, A Dead Horse, Daniel R, James at Moultrie-Made, Ryan at Strato Manufacturing, Austin W, Kyle at Kursk Machine, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, James N, Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zon Precision, Jason S, Joshua H, Christian Z, Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z2Z Systems, Trey V, Alexander B, Scott at Design the Everything, Jamie at JSpec Engineering, Chris Syke, EJ at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at Thought Bomb Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson, who did answer my Instagram message.
Yeah, he answered mine too after we called him out.
So it turns out all of the Q&A are for me.
Well, I guess we'll start with you then.
Christian O, how is your goal of having a robot in the Tormach in 2025? Significantly slowed by the fact that Audacity is not my only priority right now.
Is that something you still want to do?
Yes. Can I justify it as much? No. Do I want it? Absolutely.
So, what would allow you to justify it? Is there a big enough job that you would need? Are you trying to do high volume or high mix?
I want it set it up for high mix. I want to be able to program and throw 5 jobs on there at once and have them run through it. I am working on a system to swap a row of pallets. It's all inside my machine. I haven't had much time to make progress on it, but I'm going to basically just throw some brackets on the side of my import vices and then have a spindle. It probably won't be a spindle gripper, but basically just a stick that'll swap them on. That is my goal. I haven't tested it yet, but we're getting there. Jason S. Is Subtract planning on coming out with any swag? Definitely before IMTS. Dylan, it got chips. Can we name the Subtract ERP SERP and pronounce it in a southern twang? SERP? 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 Syrup. Syrup. I think he's going for syrup.
Syrup?
Syrup.
Have you looked at the syrup recently?
Hey, we do syrup here. Tapping our maples. Maybe we call it maple. Maple syrup.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Does there anything with Subtract? Jacob yells at me when I don't talk about Subtract. We had some parts come in. We had some parts go out. EJ at Nocturnal Welding sent me a chunk of the pure iron, and that got here the other day, so I can play with that. The ERP's made progress. So we kind of got off the ball on our social media game. Our guy who was running our social media there for a while got busy, and basically because money was tight at the time, I was okay with him not working on it because I didn't have to pay him. And so this week I kind of poked him again and was like, hey, can we start getting our social media rolling again? I think other than that, everything's been fairly... Yeah, Jacob, was there anything else on Subtract? I don't think there was.
Is he listening?
No.
It sounded like you were actually talking to him.
I'm talking to the Jacob in my head.
Talking to the Jacob in the future. When he goes and listens to this.
When he edits it. If he's really creative, he'll do something right now.
Whenever you were talking about the Tormach robot, that got me thinking about Tormach for a second. Did you see they released their desktop pro router with a little robot automation cell?
I have seen that. I was at Tormach when the prototype came in, and they were like unboxing it. It's the cutest little robot.
Yeah, I totally could not justify it, but I want one just to play with.
Yeah, I mean the only reason to get that is for educational purposes.
Oh, 100%.
Cutest darn little robot.
100%. But like, I want to get one and just play with it. Honestly, for do you know what it could actually do halfway decent potentially?
Sharpen knives.
No. I was gonna say design the everything products.
Oh, you would have to have it like inside the machine.
Have what inside the machine?
The robot. Oh, you mean the whole setup?
Yeah. The desktop router with like
honestly,
making some of those brass parts like the orange slice and automating it. That'd honestly be a pretty sick setup.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Can we put the little robot on Scott's shoreline?
I don't know. Because I don't think you can buy the robot without buying the router.
It doesn't seem to be on their website.
No, you can only buy it as a bundle, I think.
Huh. I wonder if that'll change.
But, like, I was thinking, like, there's 100% zero reason I need one or can justify one. But I just thought, like, it'd be cool to have make like a little product just for fun. And honestly,
There
like design the everything. Some of those products actually could be a good fit.
there is a Tormach robot on Facebook Marketplace that I have been considering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How close to you?
I don't remember, but definitely close enough that the price difference would be worth it. I just searched Facebook for Facebook. Robot. Oh, I know how to Facebook. And
Yeah.
Googling on the podcast. Googling on the podcast. Googling on the podcast. That's what we do all day.
That was
there's our
perfect.
little Lone Machinists reference for the day. Maybe it's not there anymore, which is sad. I should have bought that while it was there.
Do you remember what they were wanting for it roughly?
It was like 13K,
Oh, that's not bad.
and it was mint.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
But oh well.
Ooh, well. What else we got?
We have a couple guests scheduled. I meant to mention that before the podcast. We may have scheduled both of them for the same week. We need to double check that we did not. So I'm not going to spoil the guests yet, as we may have screwed that up. But
also, speaking of robots, we did order one.
So, oh, nice! You should have brought that up earlier. What'd you get?
we ended up with the VersaBuilt. We just
okay.
We ended up with that system. Almost switched last second because of Dylan. He had a really good suggestion, and I think it was Job Boss.
Job Boss is an ERP,
or not Job Boss. Robo Job. Robo Job. That's what it is. Robo Job. Yeah, I called and I talked to them. I called and I left a message to talk to them. And I think by the time they had got back to me, we had already placed the order for VersaBuilt. Because it was really close to the time, but like I started doing some research onto their stuff after we had already placed the PO for the VersaBuilt, and it's a pretty slick setup. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. But timeline and everything, it was too. We couldn't make that switch quick enough to like. There's too many uncertainties at this point, but just initial impression looks pretty cool.
Sweet.
So I could see them in the future.
So when does your robot get here? So
that's another thing that's going to be awesome and stressful. So they were able to get us in a lot sooner than I thought. So
that's good.
November 10th is the planned date, tentatively.
That's pretty soon.
But if we can't hit November 10th, then December, like the second or third week in December is their next one that's available.
That's less soon.
Which, yeah, and the week that they're coming is the week that all of these parts are due. And so it's a lot in that week.
Yeah.
And so
you basically need to get ahead.
Yeah. So we need a bust tail. That way, that week, we don't have a lot going on, so we can focus on the robot. Because when they said 4 weeks, my hope was that they could get me, that it would be the week after that crazy week. So it would have been the 17th, and that would have been perfect. But because we told them we were in a hurry, they fit us in 1 week sooner. But they don't have they might have already had that week filled, or they had 2 different options and they moved us sooner because we wanted to be sooner. And so, and then they filled the week behind it. Yeah. So, I don't know exactly how that all planned out, but It's good because we get the robot sooner. It's bad because it's going to be crazy that week. So it's going to be a lot going on.
I haven't spent this whole time looking at robots on Facebook Marketplace. Well, I'm super excited to see how that'll be. I bet it's not going to be as stressful and difficult and complicated as you think, since you're paying for the turnkey.
Yeah.
Like, if you're stressed out, then you need to go yell at the people that are turnkeying it for you.
I'm not stressed out that it's going to fail. The thing is I have 5 days of access to someone who's very knowledgeable, and I don't want to be working on other machines and have him set everything up and walk away, and I didn't learn. I wasn't able to probe that knowledge base for all it's worth while they're there working on my stuff. So, like, I'm the guy that like wants to follow them around and learn everything I can, within reason. Like, they do need to get their job done. Like, I need to let them do stuff, but like, I want them to do stuff, and then I want them to tell me what they did, do stuff, tell me what they did, do stuff, tell me what they did. And so, yeah, I think it'll be, I don't think it'll be as bad. Like, I think it'll go pretty smooth. The nice thing is because they are my Haas, HFO as well. We're going to try to, and I'm going to have to pull off the Lang plate to get some of the air routing through the rotary in the bottom. We're going to try to re-level the UMC because it hasn't been re-leveled since it's kind of settled. Yeah. And so, but I can do that because he is also the Haas HFO that sets up these machines too. So like, I'm going to have him re-level the machine and then put all the robot stuff on. So hopefully get it back to factory spec on level.
Yeah. And now it makes sense to do it.
So, and if it was a different company, they wouldn't do that. I'd have to schedule that separate.
Yeah.
So that is nice.
Well, before I find a robot here on Facebook Marketplace, shall we wrap it up? Robot.
Yeah. It'll be yeah, a lot going on. Well, guys, thanks for coming and hanging out with us for this week. It's always fun to kind of catch up and see what's going on in each other's worlds. And if you got any parts that you want to send out, look up Subtract. So it's my Subtract plug.
Thank you.
And
I was probably supposed to do that today.
Yeah.
Jacob will thank you.
Anyways, thanks guys for hanging out. This has been Harrison with Precision Ingenuity signing out with AJ from Audacity Micro and Subtract Manufacturing. We'll catch you guys next week.
Taps and patience, our daily grind. In this machine shop, we'll always find joyous struggles, all intertwined. Taps and patience, one of a kind.
Here, Jacob will add a clip here where he says thank you.
Yeah. And I expect that to be in a robot voice too.
With an AI-generated video of sprinkles. I don't know. Something fun.
No, we could Stephen Hawking's doing a half pipe or something. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos. They're hilarious. Yeah. No, he'll have like a robot, like a pause and then a robot voice. But it's like for Subtract. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, Jacob, patch notes, go.
Yeah. If you do the robot voice, it's got to be like the Stephen Hawking's robot voice of like in the middle of it. That'd be great.
And we need a AI generated video of Jacob talking.
You guys don't pay me enough for this.
Bye.
Working hard in a little machine shop, tapping back and turning handles non-stop. Every day, a challenge we face with our taps and patience. We'll ace this race. Greasy hands and sparks flying high. Machines humming, the sound never dies. big dreams we're on our way. With depths and patience, we'll seize the day. Depths and patience, all day we grind. In this machine shop, we'll always find joy in struggles, all intertwined. Depths and patience, one of a kind. Working hard in a little machine shop, jumping back to turning metals non-stop. Every day, a challenge we face. With our chops and patience, we'll ace this race. Greasy hands and sparks flying high. Machines humming, the sound never dies. Small shop, big dreams, we're on our way. With depths and patience, we'll seize the day. Depths and patience, all day we grind. In this machine shop, we'll always find